Paltrocast. Gordon, Stefanie, Michael, pleasure to be speaking with all of you today. And I'll first throw it to Gordon, and I'll say, when did you actually wrap, two-parter here, when did you actually wrap on this project, and how are you today?
Well, thank you. I'm doing great today. Lovely weather. It's, end of May. It's beautiful on the farm here in Pennsylvania. This is a lovely time of year. I try to get out and outside as much as I can this time of year, before, mosquitoes show up in July, et cetera. So we wrapped shooting, it was, July 14th, 2022. I think it was July 14th. And then post took almost exactly a year. And then after that, so you have to submit to festivals, so you have to wait for that. And you have to, submit to distributors, wait for that. So it's essentially from the wrapping of our 16 days of shooting in summer of 2022, it was 2 years to now. I mean, it's again, essentially almost exactly like June we shot, June we were done, the next June we were done post, and now June we're coming out. So it's a boop, boop, boop.
Wow, you answered about 5 questions right there. And it's very interesting to know the long lead time because Stefanie, Michael, both of you have worked a lot since this film in particular. Now, Stefanie, how exactly did you wind up in this project? Did you know Gordon? Did you know somebody else and they went, hey, you're perfect for this?
I didn't know Gordon, but I had worked with Powell, one of the producers, on a short film, gosh, probably in 2018, pre-COVID. And I think probably I got submitted on the project by my representation, but when the audition came in and I saw Powell's name, I was like, oh, I know this is going to be good, because he's a fantastic cinematographer and has great taste. So I was pumped to be considered. And then once I met Gordon, I was like, oh, this is going to be really good.
Well, speaking of great taste, and we'll come back to you in a second, Gordon. Great taste, Michael. You were in a movie that gets quoted a lot in this household, which is Sorry to Bother You. Is that a film that gets referenced a lot in your life and career?
Well, yeah, I live in Oakland, so it's shot here, and that, yeah, absolutely. It's usually power caller,
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie was pretty popular around here, and I know it blew up in other places as well.
So that was kind of a farcical comedy. This is more of a straight up horror thing. So
yeah.
Kind of hard to pigeonhole. Sense8 has nothing to do with this, but horror, what is it like for you doing horror versus comedy, or is it just work is work?
Well, I don't know how to say it except that I love work, and I love all work mostly, but some stuff is more fun than others, and I think horror is particularly fun. One of the things about horror is the aspect of I think people are always conscious of how do I maximize this? Whether it's like the scare or the blood. That wasn't really the case so much in Wild-Eyed and Wicked, although I'm looking at you, Stefanie. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but so it's always the same thing. I always talk about walking a line between trying to maximize your effect and being believable, because that's really the thing in film when that camera is pushed right up into your face.
Oh, I see what you did there. Gordon, I rudely interrupted you a couple of minutes ago.
No. I talked too much. No interruption.
Following up to the question that I just asked Michael here, is it fine to call your film horror? Because some people go, oh, horror is a pejorative thing. It's a thriller. No. It's a dramatic, thrilling thrill ride. Is it okay to say horror?
Yeah, this is a fascinating question because, to me, clearly we're a combination. We're absolutely horror, psychological horror. We're fantasy, dark fantasy. We're drama, indie drama. We're a lot in there. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, you're gonna scream. It's very much clearly, horror, dark fantasy, all these things. And it's been an interesting piece of this process, which is learning how when you're not based on, a comic book or a book or something like that, and you are totally original, how specific, because of our internet culture, some people want you to be about, you know, like you're this, 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 this. And it's like, we're a lot of things. And, you know, I grew up with movies that were a lot of things. I grew up with directors who were a lot of things. And so that, you know, that's what, if you grew up liking Spielberg and movies that, you know, like Jaws, that it's an adventure and scary and you laugh, like that's what, you know, that's the tradition I'm working in.
Well said. Stefanie, I don't see a coffee cup. I have
Here
seen
it
a
is.
coffee cup of Michael. Okay, so
That's
you were trying to be polite and not drink on camera. Got it. So, Stefanie, you know, in going through your credits, you do have a lot of horror related credits in your history as an actress, and also your producing work and the writing work you've done as well. Is it a happy accident that you got pigeonholed? And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, I guess, you know, when I started this acting journey as a profession, I didn't necessarily anticipate that horror was going to be the genre that I worked a lot in. But to piggyback on what Gordon was saying, I think I've been lucky, and a lot of the horror films that I've been able to work on have been multifaceted, that have, you know, had aspects of emotional familial drama, or society, like you know, a comment on societal trends. Yeah, so and I guess as a person, I mean, horror is fun because, especially like in this project, you really get to toe the line between these really grounded emotional moments where you're selling the character and their experience, and these heightened,
Hmm.
horrific, bloody, monstrous scenes. So I guess I've been drawn to horror because it lets me play in both worlds, the really like um visceral acting, and then the like, oh my god, I'm spewing up blood and vomit, and like, how fun is that?
Yeah.
It's probably a lot of fun. I wouldn't know personally,
Well, you'll
but
have to join
I'll
us
take
on
your
set
word.
next time.
Check it out, Darren.
We'll hook you up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Michael, if I can talk weirdly about more credits of yours and all that, you have a lot of great video games in your past, and I don't know if everybody knows that it was you doing those voices. When you were doing that, was that because a video game agent was kind of pushing you, or a voiceover person was pushing you, or is it a I need to work and this is what I'm being offered? Because again, these turned out to be really big franchises.
Yeah, they really did. And how did I end up doing it that way? It is because my answer is that I'm a Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area local actor, and we were blowing up in all the different technologies. And that was one of the things that I'm sort of very proud of, is that I tended to have my face in the leading edge of these different technologies, and certainly gaming was one of them. And you know, you're probably thinking about like to me, Back to the Future,
Street
was
Fighter.
Street Fighter, and one of the things I was recognized the most for up until Sense8 was a Bad Mojo, which was one of the very early games. And I was like, why are people recognizing this? And it took me a long time to realize that people are spending hour after hour on these games. And
Yeah.
this was one where I was, my face was in it as well, not just my voice. So I started to learn the strange look sometimes. Somebody's like, I know that guy. How do I know that guy?
Yeah, and that is definitely your voice in the beginning of Back to the Future. And the reason why that struck me is I played that game, I borrowed it. I couldn't get past the first level within an hour and a half. So I just heard you complaining over and over and over again in that first scene. So pretty unforgettable. But back to Gordon here. Gordon, as you mentioned, two or so years ago you shot this, so to us it's a new movie, to you it's an old project, and as a writer and director, you're always creating. Are we allowed to know what's next? Or is it all Wild-Eyed and Wicked forever and ever? This is your swan song.
Well, no, well, it's funny that, because even though, yes, we shot it 2 years ago, but I mean, I've been living with it more than anybody for still 2 years, and it's been a very active part of my life for that time. Even though, yes, absolutely, I keep developing as an artist, I keep writing, and my life goes on, of course. I've written 3 screenplays since we shot this. I'm also working on a fantasy novel series, and which again, I like to say, because it's, I get to do it no holds bars, not holding anything back, which is really nice for me. And yeah, so that's sort of that piece of that path. But yeah, oh my God, in so many ways, just my God, the post-production, I mean, I gave tens of thousands of notes during that time because, I'm, we're working with small crews, small post team. And so, I'm going in there being like, let's add the sound here. Let's change, the color saturation here. Like, so oh yeah, I've been plenty of wild for a long time.
Got it. Now, working as we wind down over to Stefanie, do you know where we're going to see you next, or is Wild-Eyed and Wicked? I kind of know the answer and looking at IMDb, but I don't know what you're allowed to say or announce at this time.
Sure. Yeah. Obviously this on June 11th, and then I have a couple other horror thrillers that I shot since then. One is about AI, which I think is incredibly topical.
Sure.
And the other one is again a bit like this, sort of an emotional thriller about I can't even go into it. There's a lot. It's that one. The AI one is probably the one that's going to come out after Wild-Eyed and Wicked, and that one is called Decibel.
Powerful name right there. And on that same thing, you, Michael, are we allowed to know where we're going to see you next, or do we just have to keep checking Instagram and that's the way you do it?
Well, the answer is that I know what's coming up and it seems imminent, but I have not been given dates yet. But Freaky Tales is the one I'm telling people to watch out for, because this is going to be a really fun film, and I think it's coming out anytime now. But I haven't gotten the word, as I said. Freaky Tales blew up at Sundance, and so I'm certain, although they don't tell me these details, I'm sure for business reasons and just neglect, but that should be coming out, I think, any time now. And I just spoke to the director of a film shot about a little film that we just love called Guitar Man, about some trying to keep kids in juvenile detention out of prison. And we shot in San Quentin, and it should be coming out, I heard, by the end of this year. So Freaky Tales, I'm really expecting it this summer, and Guitar Man probably at the end of the year.
Is Guitar Man, real quick, Guitar Man, is that related to Wayne Kramer?
No, this is Buzzy Martin, who actually was a musician who taught guitar at San Quentin prison, and because he came out of a juvenile detention prison teaching guitar, he went to San Quentin to tell these kids, were like, hey, I don't mind, man. I'm cool. I can go to San Quentin and I'll be fine. He's like, no, you won't.
Well, the bottom line is this. Pleasure speaking with all of you. Congrats on Wild-Eyed and Wicked, and glad to hear that it is one of many things to come from all three of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Darren.
And Annie, if anything to edit out, you know where to find me. And do you want this posted like a day or two before June 11th?
As early as you're able to post would be brilliant. I want to try and push pre-sales for.
Okay, early next week will do. Thank you all for your help and your time, and speak to everyone soon.
Thank you.
Take care.